Okay, so let's talk about the 40-hour work week. I mean, it feels like a law of nature, right? Kind of like gravity. But here's the thing. It's not. What if I told you it's just a system, an invention, really? A 100-year-old piece of tech that's, well, it's way past its expiration date. So today we're going to tear this thing down. We're going to look at how it was built and maybe, just maybe, why it's so broken. Wow. This quote, it just cuts right to the heart of it, doesn't it? It's that feeling like, you know the one I'm talking about, where you're just running on a treadmill. You've got just enough to get by, but you're too tired. You don't have the time. You don't have the money to actually get off the treadmill and build something for yourself. And let me be clear, that is not a personal failing. That's the design. Okay, so let's do some quick math here. Every single one of us, no matter who you are, gets 168 hours a week. That's it. That's the raw material we have to work with. All right, let's start chipping away at that number. You gotta sleep, right? So let's say you get a decent 8 hours a night. Boom. That's 56 hours gone right off the top. So what are we left with? 112 waking hours? That's the time we have to actually live. And then comes the big one, your job, the standard 40-hour work week. Let's pull that out. All of a sudden, 112 becomes 72. Now, 72 hours, that still sounds like a decent amount of time, doesn't it? But we're not done yet. I mean, let's be real here. You have to get to work, right? So there's your commute. Let's call it 10 hours a week. And you have to, survive. Showering, cooking, eating, that's probably another 2 hours a day, so 14 hours a week. And poof, just like that, you're down to 48 hours. That's it. That's your weekend. 2 days. But the real question is that time really free? And that question, that leads us right into what this is all about, the modern work trap. You know that feeling? The Sunday scaries, the dread that creeps in where you live for the weekend. But then you get there and you're just too wiped out to do anything. That's not on you. That is a symptom of the system. This just leaves out the cycle perfectly. Your weekend isn't really freedom, is it? It's recovery. It's just enough time to recharge so you can do it all over again on Monday. Saturdays for errands and catching up on sleep. Sunday is for dreading Monday. See, the system is designed to keep you just tired enough, just busy enough that you don't have the bandwidth to build an escape route. It's about compliance, not about you being productive or happy. So where did this whole idea even come from? I'll tell you. It wasn't handed down on stone tablets. It was engineered, designed specifically for a world of factories, steam engines, and soot. A world that, let's be honest, doesn't exist anymore. We're basically living inside a museum piece. This timeline really tells the story. Before all this, work was seasonal. You worked with the sun, not a clock. But then, boom, the Industrial Revolution hits, and suddenly people are working these brutal 100-hour weeks. It was insane. So, of course, people fought back. Labor movements pushed for something that sounds so simple now. 8 hours for work, 8 for rest, and 8 for what we will. Then this guy, Henry Ford, comes along in 1926 and makes the 5-day, 40-hour week the standard at his factories. And just a few years later, in 1938, it becomes official U.S. law. But you have to understand why Ford did this. Is the real kicker. He wasn't some big-hearted labor hero. He was a brilliant businessman with a massive problem. His factory turnover was an insane 370%. People were quitting constantly. So what did he do? He doubled their pay and cut their hours. But here's the genius part. He realized that if his workers had a little extra money and a little extra time, what would they do? They'd buy stuff like, say, a Ford car. He wasn't just building a product. He was building a market. He engineered the entire consumer cycle. Okay, so that's the history. And that brings us right to today and to this huge glaring problem. The productivity paradox. Think about it. Our technology, our tools, they've evolved at light speed. But our schedules, they're still stuck back in 1926 with Henry Ford. And get this, back in 1965, a Senate subcommittee literally predicted that by the year 2000, technology would be so good that we'd only have to work 14 hours a week. 14. They thought all this new tech would set us free from the grind. Well, spoiler alert, they were really, really wrong. This chart, man, this chart says it all. Look at that line for productivity since the 1950s. It's just shot through the roof. We are creating so much more value per hour than ever before. But now look at the other line. Average hours worked. It's dead flat. So the big question is, where did all that extra value go? It shouldn't go into giving us more free time. And this is the core of the mismatch right here. We are running 21st century knowledge work on a 20th century factory operating system. That system was built for physical labor on an assembly line. When you clocked out, you were done. The work stayed at the factory. But today, we use our amazing 21st century tech to cram what feels like 80 hours of mental work. All the emails, the Slack pings, the constant thinking into that same old 40-hour box. And the work doesn't stay at the office. It follows us home right in our pockets. So that's the problem. But what if there's a better way? What if we could finally update that ancient operating system? The good news is this isn't just some fantasy anymore. It's happening. All over the world, companies and even entire countries are trying out a new model. This is the 4-day revolution. And the data is just incredible. Look at this stuff. Iceland ran huge trials. And what happened? Productivity stayed the same or even went up, while workers' stress just plummeted. Microsoft and Japan tried it. Productivity jumped 40%. Then there was a massive trial in the UK with 61 companies. Revenue held strong. Burnout dropped like a rock. And get this, 92% of them are sticking with the policy. The results are just so clear and consistent. Working less does not mean getting less done. Let's just stop on that Microsoft Japan number for a second. A 40% jump in productivity. How is that even possible? Well, it turns out when you have less time, you stop wasting it. It forced them to cut out all the useless meetings and just focus on the stuff that actually mattered. It's the ultimate proof that more hours doesn't mean more value. And then there's the other side of the coin, the human side. That huge UK trial, they saw a 71% drop in employee burnout. I mean, that's a staggering number. That's not just a nice-to-have metric on a spreadsheet. That's a life-changing improvement in people's well-being. It proves you can have a system that's both more productive and more humane. You don't have to choose. Okay, so what do we do about all of this? It really boils down to two paths you can take. The first one is big-picture systemic change. That means pushing for and adopting these smarter 4-day output-focused ways of working. But there's also the individual path, and that's about building something that you own, an asset that can create an income stream outside your job. Could be an email list, a side project, whatever. The goal is to start decoupling your time from your money. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, reclaiming your time. It's about finally recognizing that this system, it's not a law of physics. It's a choice that was made 100 years ago, and that means we can start making new choices. This really breaks down the two mindsets, doesn't it? You have the old 1926 model where time is the thing you sell. It rewards you for just showing up for endurance. But the new model, the one we need for today, it's all about output. The input isn't your time. It's your focused work, and it rewards you for being efficient, not just for looking busy. So if you remember anything from this, let it be these things. 1, the 40-hour week is not natural. It was invented. 2, the real-world data is clear. Fewer hours can lead to better results. And maybe the most important thing of all, if you feel burnt out, exhausted, and trapped, the problem isn't that you're lazy. The problem is the system is obsolete. And remember, your time is your life. And that really leaves us with one big question. The 8-hour day, that was a revolutionary idea once. The 5-day week was a radical business experiment. They were both inventions designed to solve the problems of their time. So now as we're facing a whole new set of problems, what are we going to invent next?